What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 127 of Value Town. I'm ChanManV, and joining me today are Allie and Jackie, of course. What's up, guys?
What's up? Hello. How's everyone doing?
Good.
I'm good too. Been in Germany all week at Seatstory. I only got back on Monday. So good.
So there's no jet lag when you go to Germany, right? It's almost the same time zone, right?
Yeah, the flight's the flight's only an hour and a half, and it's only an hour difference in time zone. So yeah, it's pretty.
It's not that bad.
Pretty fine.
All right, cool. Well, I guess the better question is, have you recovered from it yet?
No.
Seatstory is always an experience, right?
It was actually pretty messy, but but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
It was
story time.
Yeah, great to see all the other players and streamers. And, obviously, I've met a lot of them before, but there's some of them I've never met before, so it's nice to get to know them.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely get to that. We've got obviously a Seatstory segment that you can fill us in on everything that's going on there. But we've got a lot to talk about. We always have a lot to talk about, but then when big news is announced right before the show, too, it just piles on to everything that we had planned. So it's going to be a fun show. And I figured we would just kind of start off with the big news, which was announced a couple hours ago. Actually, it looks like it was officially 8 hours ago on the EU server.
8 hours ago.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah, maybe in the US was a little bit maybe late after that. But the big news is the Rogue quest, the Caverns Below, has been nerfed.
It's been nerfed.
I mean, finally nerfed, right? It's after people have been, wanting it, asking for it, at different times of the game, phases. Obviously, in the very beginning, everybody was like, this is broken. This totally needs to be changed. And then, slowly people realized that, oh, okay, it's not as broken as we thought, and there's a purpose for it. So let me show you the nerf at least. The nerf is basically the text will now read quest, play 5 minions with the same name, and reward Crystal Core. Nothing too surprising as a way to nerf it. I think it used to be 4, obviously. And, obviously adding one more to it makes it a lot harder to accomplish on turn 5 and turn 6, like we saw on average. So want to get your thoughts on just, I guess, did it need to be nerfed? Are you guys surprised? So Jackie, let's start off with you.
I'm very happy that it's nerfed. Yeah, I think it did need to be nerfed. I think the issue with it was not that it was too good, because my issue was that it was just too polarized. It was so incredibly good against control and so terrible against aggro. So if you queue into Quest Rogue on ladder, you pretty much knew the outcome of the game on turn 1, and it's extremely uninteractive to play against as a control deck. So I'm very happy with the nerf.
Allie, what do you think?
I feel like it's a really interesting nerf, because it wasn't that, the win rate was just too crazy, like Jackie was just saying. It's just simply that the matchup was too polarized. And I'm happy. I'm definitely happy. But at the same time, I'm also they basically just killed it, I think. Was there a better happy medium? I was thinking potentially, could they have changed the mechanics a little bit? If you silence the minions, they actually go back to their original stats, I was just thinking maybe there were other ways to nerf it. I'm happy that it's nerfed, because there needs to be change, but I just think that this completely killed it, and there might have been other ways to, I don't know, maybe making making 4/4s or just something else to kind of nerf it. I'm not sure, but so I'm happy, but I'm in the middle a little bit about it.
Yeah, I know what you mean by that. For me, I'm happy about it. I mean, it's definitely,
I think
definitely not bummed about it at all, just because I've never been a huge fan of that deck, and I have respect for it, because there is a skill. There is a pretty high skill cap to playing it, at least at the most optimal way. But at the same time, there's been countless times, especially recently, where I just concede the moment I play against it, because I'm playing a control deck. It's not even worth my time. Maybe I win 5% of the time, it's like not worth it. Like I could play 3
And that's
games.
just bad for the game.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. So I think that in terms of it being nerfed, I like that. It's not going to be played as much. In terms of how it was nerfed, yeah, I'm right there with you too, Allie. I think this is a more drastic way of nerfing it because it just won't be played much because of how much harder it is to have 5 minions versus 4. I think that it might be exaggerated. I still think if people played it a ton and they played it optimally with the 5, I bet it's still pretty good. And it's probably going to be people like Jackie that probably end up realizing
yeah,
this.
Jackie's gonna pull it off.
After everybody just gives up on it, right? Jackie will keep playing it, and then they'll figure out, hey, you know what, it's still pretty darn good. But I wish they would have done some things like me. Allie, you were mentioning to me earlier that where, maybe the transformation spells work the way that we would hope that they would work, and things like that, right? And that would make the deck a little bit more. Just a little bit better for some of the control decks and some of the tools that they have. But with this, though, yeah, I see it dropping by a lot. At least
Yeah, I mean, I can finally play the deck on my stream, which is great. Because if I'd ever played Quest Rogue in the past, people would be like, "Why are you playing Quest Rogue, Jackie? This isn't what I watch you for."
But it's not cool enough, right? Yeah,
I can see why some people are a bit disappointed with the nerf because a lot of people have been saying that the Quest Rogue is fairly high skill cap, and like high skill cap decks are generally great for the game, great for competitive play. But and I do agree that they could have nerfed it differently. One thing that someone suggested to me was that the quest reward, instead of being a spell, was a minion. So it's like the Warlock quest where you get something that sticks on the board. So you can only have 6 slots available on the board. But the most important thing is that you then can't prep out the quest.
Exactly,
which is
100%.
Like such a big deal. Like the games that are the most annoying against the Quest Rogue are when they prep out the quest on like turn 3 or 4, and it's just ridiculous.
I didn't think about that option, actually. That's sick. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the problematic issues is how cheap the core is, and if they would have made it a minion, they could have just made it more expensive too. I mean, that's an even easier one. If people still want to use prep, sure, you can still use prep, but it's an 8 mana spell now or something like that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
sure.
So I think one positive things about it is that we'll get a chance to see Miracle Rogue more. I think Miracle Rogue is one that is entertaining. I think it has a lot of there's a skill cap that's very high for that deck too. And we'll just be able to see that a bit more, at least for the rogue players. I guess one point about, you mentioned that it has a high skill cap, usually good for the game. I would say this one is, if you didn't like Freeze Mage, or if you don't like Freeze Mage, you shouldn't like the Quest Rogue either. And I think just because it has a high skill cap doesn't mean it's good for the game at all. And at the lower levels, I bet people hate it. Hate it.
Yeah,
a ton, right? So
I mean, it's kind of like the deck that just punishes experimenting and trying things out the most.
Yeah,
because
much.
You just get steamrolled.
Yep.
And yeah, it's just kind of how uninteractive it feels. I think is the most annoying thing about it. That you play the game and you feel like there's absolutely nothing I could have done this game, and I'm just dying on turn 5.
Yeah.
Is that how some people feel about Freeze Mage though? I mean, I think so, right? I personally love Freeze Mage, but I hate Quest Rogue, so I don't know.
I mean, Freeze Mage, you have a lot more time, right? Normally they're like Alexing you on 9 and then burning you out over the next 2 turns. So I think you have a lot more time to do stuff about it. So yeah, I don't think Freeze Mage is as bad as Quest Rogue.
I don't think we were originally, at least in the show notes, planning on talking about the big topic of the day that we were going to do, but we might as well do it now, just given that it's related to obviously this and the rogue. So the topic that we were going to talk about today, guys, was just polarization, I guess, in Hearthstone, at least with some decks. Like, does Hearthstone have an issue with polarized decks? And right now in the competitive space, because we do see a little bit of rock, paper, scissors. That's obviously been a narrative that we've had for months now. And is it a problem right now? And, is it something that we even want in Hearthstone? So, now that we have the Quest Rogue being nerfed, which was one of the decks that was absolutely polarizing because you just lose, right, with the control. Yeah, what do you guys think? What's the state of the game right now in terms of that?
I mean, I think Quest Rogue was the biggest one. Like that, I mean, that was the whole reason why we wanted to talk about it in general. So it's kind of timely that the announcement was just today. I'm trying to think of some other matchups that are extremely polarized, but I just can't think. Like nothing has been as bad, I think, as Quest Rogue, right? Just versus control. What are some other?
Jade Druid used to be great. So
Freeze Mage against Control Warrior was one of the old common ones.
Yeah. But that one's not that bad anymore, right? It's not terribly bad with like
Justicar's out.
No, I mean with Justicar.
Yeah, MD is being mixed in. I mean, there's a lot of value in the mages now.
But I think generally like decks that have very polarized matchups are bad for the game. I think a lot of people have been talking about the rock paper scissors kind of thing, and if these decks in the rock paper scissors, these 3 decks, if they all have like a 10% win rate against one of them and a 90% win rate against the other one, I think that's absolutely awful for the game, because it's you're just flipping a coin on what matchup you're getting.
Yeah.
Whereas if the triangle is a bit closer, so one of them has like a 60% and a 40%, that kind of thing, I think that's a lot more healthy for the game, and there's a lot more things you can do as the unfavored deck. Yeah, just being unfavored in a matchup shouldn't just be like, I may as well concede the game, basically.
Right.
Absolutely. I think a 60-40 is totally fine. Not 90%, 10% is just no, that's not fun.
Yeah, I mean,
you know?
who
enjoys that? Like queuing into Quest Rogue and being like, well, might as well concede. You know, like that's just doesn't make Hearthstone fun. And so I think with the Quest Rogue nerf, the polarization, like, because I don't think Jade Druid is too bad right now.
No,
like
I don't think so.
Against control. So I think that polarization's not going to be as much of an issue in the very near future. Now, obviously, a new expansion comes out, and we'll see what happens after that. But but I think it should be getting better.
And clearly they use stats to make this decision too. So I'm thinking the stats were very weighted. Probably close to that 90-10, and probably maybe not that drastic, but it's definitely closer to that, beyond the parameters which they which they have, so that whenever it does reach that point, they need to make some changes. So clearly it got to that point. One thing I would say, at least design-wise and just generally speaking, is that they don't necessarily have designs in mind, but when it comes to the quests, they clearly do, right? Because they're steering us down a deck building path. And the one thing with that type of thing, if they're going to have quests like that, is you can't have like a deck that is polarizing like that, because you can't counter it. Like, it's one thing with freeze, because freeze was people classify it the same, but you can put heals in your deck. You can actually put 5-6 cards that helps against freeze mage. There's not much you can do, like, as a control deck against.
Right, like as a control deck, there's not anything you can tech. Like, you can play an aggro deck, and that counters it, but you can't like just add something.
Yeah.
That's why I was thinking, if you're playing priest, and maybe if the minions were if they were silenced, they would go back to their original stats. Like adding something like Mass Dispel would, and there is nothing like that would counter it now. So no, that's a really good point.
Yeah, Mass Dispel, turning them all, let's just say 1/1s and 1/2s, even just like that turn, right? And it feels like a Jiraxis type of interaction, right? Whenever it gets to that point, that gives you a chance. At least a control deck, a decent. It's not going to be a good matchup, but it's still a chance that they have. And it creates something similar that we've seen before.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess another way they could have nerfed it is maybe instead of 5/5s, minions would be like 5/4s or 5/3s or something.
Yeah,
so that
right.
All the other, because things like Hellfire, Flame Strike are just like they don't do anything. Where they're meant to be like really powerful board clearing cards, but
Very
it's
true.
just irrelevant, pretty much.
Yeah, I agree.
Dragon Fire Potion's like the only thing.
And Fellfire Potion.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. No, you're totally right. I forgot about Fellfire. Yeah.
In terms of like, will this change the meta or anything? I think like people will definitely probably go to some other anti-control, because Quest Rogue is like the biggest like anti-control deck right now. Like Quest Rogue and Jade Druid are the two kind of most popular anti-control decks. So probably Jade Druid might become a little bit more popular.
Yeah, probably.
Miracle Rogue might become more popular. Any kind of some more anti-control decks might come into the fray. Who knows?
Yeah.
Do we know when? We don't know when the Nerf's going live because, HCT Shanghai is happening very soon.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, they can't change it before then because players have already submitted their decks. So I guess it'll just be after then at some point, I suppose.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, this is where it gets tricky because I don't know. I don't know if they take into account when the competitive schedule. You think they would, but this kind of change. You're right. I think that it completely changes what would be optimal if they do play with that.
Yeah.
And they don't have tournament servers, right? I don't think they'll be playing on the last patch. So yeah, maybe it's coming after that. When is Shanghai, by the way? Is it like a week or two?
July, like 6, 7, 8, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, like a week and a half.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
I'm going from the 4th through the 10th, so it's like 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, that probably though. I would expect it to be after. Usually, when they announce something like this, they would usually take a couple of weeks to do it anyway. So, like, there's a couple of weeks where people are like, "Oh yeah, this is gonna change. Let's get our last games of Quest for again."
Right. Yeah. Give them a taste of like the old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
So we can wait a couple weeks. So after Shanghai, I think would be the proper timing for it. One other thing I was trying to think of like just why, some other reasons why they would do it now versus before. And maybe in the next expansion, there's going to be some elements of copying cards or, making just copies of the same card much more frequent in terms of quests. So it would have made the quest stroke even worse than it was already. Yeah.
I honestly... possibly. I feel like it's more just a response to the unrest in the community. Like, I just feel like so many people have been complaining about Quest Rogue that they just want to respond somehow. But maybe they'll have copy cards. I'm not sure.
Has there been a lot of complaints recently? I might have missed those.
I don't know about recently. I think it's just been the general attitude for a while, and they're just deciding now. So
yeah. A couple minutes later. Blizzard reactive time, right? Better late than never, right?
Yeah, I think they absolutely had to nerf it though. I think they had to do something about it because it would have it's so interactive and it would have been in the meta for like a year and a half, which is like so depressing.
Just for the game in general, like control decks are fun. I personally love control decks. I want to actually have a chance to play them.
Yeah. So. Well, those broadcasts are going to be even longer now.
Tournaments.
Control paladin versus control warriors.
I mean, it's not the kind of like control decks shouldn't be played. Like everyone, like control decks should be like there should be something that's good against control decks, like Jade's for example. But it just shouldn't be as uninteractive as
yeah, agreed.
Totally
agree.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's talk about another bit of news, which I thought was going to be the big news, but now it's like secondary compared to this. But they did announce, I think it was late last week, that they're making changes to the packs and how legendaries are going to be not handled, but how they're going to appear. So no more duplicate legendaries, guys. Anytime you get a legendary, as long as you have legendaries you don't have, you will be getting those legendaries. So, of course, if you have all the legendaries, you're going to get duplicate legendaries, right? So, officially, it is not that, that you'll never, ever get a duplicate legendary. But for the most part, all of us, we will not be getting them anymore. And what was interesting about it, too, is that Overwatch also did a very similar thing with their loot boxes, where, it's legendary skins and things like that. Same thing. If you don't have... as long as you have some open legends, you're going to be getting those, anytime you get a legend box. So yeah, I mean, generally, I don't think anybody's going to complain about that, right? I mean, we're all happy about that, right?
Yeah, I think I've got about 7 or 8 Donhan Chos. So
I remember Donhan Chos.
Really? Donhan Chos everywhere.
Wow, I think I've only gotten 2.
But it's definitely great because when you hover, especially for a player who doesn't spend money on the game or doesn't open that many packs, doesn't have that many legendaries. They're
Yeah.
hovering over the golden card they see, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I've been waiting for a legendary for so long," and then they click it, and it's like the one other legendary they've already got.
Yeah.
It's so like, oh, it's so upsetting. So
Or the classic, I got 3 legendaries in this pack and they're all the same. Like, what?
That has never happened to me before. No, I feel like it's a really good response to the unrest about Hearthstone, and it's unforgiving. It's unforgiving to free-to-play players, you know. So I think this is sort of them like trying, and I think it's a really good thing, you know.
Yeah.
So I think it's a response to the free-to-play issue, and I think a lot of people are really happy about it. So I'm super excited and happy for those, you know, who don't spend as much money on the game. They actually won't get duplicates now.
That's right. I mean, everybody's been saying Blizzard's so greedy, and until there's a huge competitor, there's no reason for them not to be greedy, right? That's been
Right.
the big narrative for a while now. And I think this says one of two things. First off is that Team 5 has no say in how much loot box or packs and loot box or whatever game you're in. They have no say in all that stuff. I mean, these are the developers and the designers. They're just making the cards, you know, and things like that. So us blaming Team 5 for, you know, charging whatever it is or not having sales or you know, all these different things. Yeah, it's not their fault, guys.
Yeah.
It's a completely different group. You know, they make decisions on that. And thankfully, you know, recently they're doing these things that are super cool for all the consumers. And
Yeah.
on top of the loot box, also, we're also getting a big sale this week, right? At least it started this week, where the Ungoro packs you're getting. Let me show you the breakdown of it here. Yeah, so for each of the bundles, right, the 7, 15, 40, and 60, you're going to be getting additional packs. So it gets all the way up to plus 18 packs for the 60 pack bundle. So that's a great deal. You know, that's like, I forget how much the 15 pack is. Is it $15 or is it $20? I forget. But
I'm not sure. It's but yeah, it's definitely really
Yeah.
good value. Like anyone who's like wants to get some more cards, now would probably be the time to do it. I mean, I guess one thing is that it's kind of quite far into the expansion now.
Yeah,
so
that's what
not
I
many
was
people
gonna
really,
say.
really probably want
Yeah.
packs right now.
it's for
Well,
the
it's
new
like you're
players,
gonna-
though, right? It's for anybody that's
Yeah.
getting into
Yeah,
Hearthstone.
yeah, for sure.
But if you want to, you know, buy this 60 pack, like what are we looking at? Like August for the next expansion? You know, I guess there's like another solid month or so before the next one, but yeah.
Yeah. It'd be nice if they did it again during that time, but did
Yeah.
they pick this time? It's kind of like Heroic Brawl, right? Did they pick Heroic Brawl to be at
Yeah.
a moment where there's not, you know, new packs or where we all need cards, so the packs are obviously super valuable to us. Another thing, too, is that you'll be guaranteed a legendary within the first 10 card packs of a new
Yeah.
set. So that's cool, too. I mean, there's definitely been first 10 card packs where I don't get a legendary. It's like, oh, just like stabbing you in the heart. But
Definitely.
now
It's-
you're
I mean, I've
guaranteed.
always considered like it would be a nice thing for them to do, to like give you a legendary, like they did with the with Wisps of the Old Gods, where they gave you Cthulhu instead of giving you a legendary for
Oh,
each
yeah, they
expansion.
did
So this is kind of, it's not exactly that, but it's along the same lines of kind of allowing
Well, I think they
people
sort
to get
of-
the more powerful cards.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think they sort of needed to do that because so many of the cards that were Cthulhu cards, you know, so when people would be opening packs and they opened up Cthulhu cards, if it didn't have, you know, the dust to craft Cthulhu, it kind of would have sucked. But yeah, absolutely. I think all of these little things, you know, they're, like I said, they're trying to respond to, you know, to the whole free to play, you know, thing. And so I think it's really good. And like ChanManV was saying though, it's not Team 5, you know, always making these decisions. It's like Blizzard's a huge corporation, but you know, the financials are in a completely different sector of Team 5. So don't hate on Team 5 too much.
That's right. And the last little bit is that I think in each pack, you'll no longer get multiples of a common, a rare, or an epic. So you'll get 5 unique cards, basically. You can still have duplicates across packs, but just in a single pack, you know, it's impossible to get 5 of Ultra Swords anymore, you know, or something crazy like that.
One of my viewers got 3 Ultra Swords in a pack the
Oh,
other day, and
man.
we were like, "Oh, that's
Wow.
incredible! I want to open a pack
Wow.
like that."
You're so lucky.
Yeah.
Right,
Never again.
right. Yeah, never again. But yeah. So, anyways, great news. You know, this is obviously good for consumers, and you know, we should recognize that. You know, we're always critical of them. It's good good when they actually do something cool like this.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's see. Anything else here news-wise? Oh, we have the Wild Tournament. So the Wild Tournament I think details of the Wild Tournament were announced. And it's going to be, I think this Friday. Let me see. It starts on the 1st. No, Saturday. So this Saturday, oh, actually the stream's on this page. Let me pause the stream here. There you go. If you can check out the Wild bracket here, this is for 25K, and it's the top 8. So I think if you guys watched the Wild qualifiers before, you saw these 8 guys qualify, and Control, who's a team member of Fade to Karma, is on there. So
Jesse.
I guess you'll be rooting for him, obviously.
Yeah, definitely gonna be watching it. And
Absolutely.
rooting him on.
Yeah. Are you familiar with any of the other players? I've heard of LVGE, but I'm not very familiar with the rest of the guys.
I am not.
Mekkatorque too. Like in the last, I watched some of the last event. There were some cool games there with him.
I don't recognize. I think I recognize McNuggets, but I don't think I recognize anyone else.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole point, guys, is to get some of these guys some exposure. These are obviously some of the top wild players. So definitely root them on. Try to maybe learn about a new player here. And it's Masink, LVGE, SH Royal Ball. Is that Baez, I guess. Baez, Control, Alb 987, Norgoon, Mega Nuts, and Mega Nuggets, not nuts. Oh my god, and Vertic. So definitely check that out. It's gonna be casted by looks like Frodan, Kibler, Sottle, and Raven. And
Awesome.
it's quarterfinals July 1st, semifinals and finals July 2nd. So it's on the official Hearthstone channel. Definitely tune into that.
Yeah, it's a nice breath of fresh air as well, watching Wild tournaments and seeing all the old cards you used to play, all the sludge belchers and
Seriously.
Zombie Charles,
Kazakis, just Reno, all that good stuff. Yeah, Death Lords. Yeah.
Right.
God.
Don't forget about Dr. Seven.
Dr. Seven, that's true.
I mean, Dr. Seven's not even that popular. Like, believe it or not, he's
Is he
not even that
not? Oh, I
popular
don't
in
play much
Wild.
Wild.
though.
Yeah.
I don't know. Really?
Yeah,
Dang.
like
He's still
Not
super
even good
good,
enough.
right? I mean, we think about if relative to like all the new cards that have come out, Dr. Seven's still good. Right?
he's still good, but like he used to be played in like the aggressive decks, right, as a top end, and like the aggressive decks now are so aggressive that like you don't want to run a
It's too
7
slow.
It's like
Yeah.
7 drop. No, we don't got room for 7 drops.
I got time for
Yeah.
that.
That's right. All right. So let's talk about Seatstory. So obviously huge event this past weekend, and Jackie was there. I was rooting you on that first day, man. But I had to catch the VODs a little later. But then I was like, oh man, so close, so close. But why don't you tell us about Seatstory?
Yeah, I probably memed a little bit too hard. I unfortunately lost in the first group, but yeah, no regrets. I stick to my memes. But it was really great. Great to see everyone. Great to cast as well, because all the players who were there get to cast on the A stream and the B stream. And there was some cool decks as well.
Yeah, they were
like
definitely
some quest mages, some easy druids.
That was like one of the biggest things I wanted to talk about today, was that during Seatstory Cup, I play these quests for fun. I mean, I play these decks for fun, and then all of a sudden they're popping up in actual events, and it's just like, what? Were we really geniuses all this time? Playing some of these ramp druids and quest mages. But yeah, let's talk about those two in particular. I think quest mage was brought by multiple people, so it seemed to be a thought or a topic that was spreading amongst Temple Storm players, as well as I know Toast brought it, and we've had I think multiple versions of it in the community too, like Rage and everybody. And then Eloise too, yeah, and then Oskaka brought that druid too. So those were the two things. So let's talk about the mage first. And why did this become such a big thing during this tournament, or just generally in the event meta?
I think one of the things is that control paladin decks have become popular with a lot of heal, and that can kind of be pretty good against the kind of freeze mage style decks, because they just out heal you and you just lose. Same with Jade Druid. They have so much armor that like a lot of the time freeze mage just can't get through it. Whereas the quest mage, the fact that you're actually basically OTKing them And there's nothing they can do about it, no matter how much heal or armor they have. You literally just get your Sorcerer's Apprentice, your Antonidas, and just a million fireballs to face. Yeah, it's basically just the best anti-control deck. Well, I mean, not including Quest Rogue, etc., but like it's very good against control. And another thing I want to say about it quickly is that it's actually like Token Shaman has got really popular, and freeze effects like Frost Nova and Blizzard are really, really good against Token Shaman. So even against decks like Token Shaman, you can sometimes stall enough to pull off your combo.
Was there a lot of? I mean, I assume there was a lot of conversation about which version was the best, because obviously we saw like this. I think it was Eloise. Was it Frodan as well that brought like the giant version, and then Toast? I can't remember who else.
We're looking at Toast right now.
Version.
Yeah,
we're looking at Toast right now. Yeah, I don't know. I personally think the Exodia version is better because the taunt, like double Molten and double Arcane Giant, gets wrecked by taunts, which Paladin does have a Steed's super annoying, and Tyrion. And so I just feel like if you're trying to counter Paladin or Taunt Warrior or something, like the Giant version is just not going to get you there. But yeah, it was really interesting that like people brought Quest Mage to Seatstory. Like I love this deck so much, and it was really exciting to see.
It wasn't even just one person. I mean, we saw it a lot, and that was just so eye-opening. And one thing that you realized too, and what was cool about Toast, and I've been watching Toast stream a lot, like the last several days, and he's pretty much only been playing this.
Right.
One thing you realize is just how high the skill cap is on it. It's like crazy high. Like beyond even Freeze Mage. Freeze Mage has always been something like very, very, very high on that list. This is even harder because your winning conditions. I mean, there's almost zero margin for error with this, outside of Yogg. Yogg obviously throws in some craziness.
Yeah, I don't know why Yogg's in there, but I think Yogg's there for the memes.
Yogg's actually there for the memes.
I don't think most people run Yogg.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, a lot of people ask me in my stream, they're like, "Oh, is Quest Mage strong?" And players like Rage and Just Sayin, like they've gotten like top 100, top 200 with it, but it's such a high skill cap deck, like we're saying, that I really don't think it's that good. Like, and on the general, like it's probably my favorite deck from Ungoro, just different versions of Quest Mage, and I love it. But I just think like if you're trying to take it to ladder, I mean, obviously try it, but it's just very difficult to pull off. And so I don't know. A lot of people are asking me if it's good, and I want to say yes, but I also want to say no at the same time.
Well, you'll die to Pirate Warrior. I mean, if Pirate Warrior is being played a ton, there's no way you're going to beat Pirate Warrior consistently.
Well, Rage's list runs like Curator and Mukla and Cold Light Oracles and Galaka Crawler, and so
that's much better.
If you're running that list,
let me snag that one.
I think
too.
you have a better time.
Let's take a look at that too, and then for all the people listening, I'll dictate some of these different cards, because I know you guys are probably wondering what the heck are they talking about right now. I can't see anything. So let me bring up Rage's deck real quick here too.
One of the differences between the like Giants version and the Antonidas version is that if like Dirty Rat can just destroy the Antonidas version. If you get your Sorcerer's Apprentice Dirty Ratted, you can literally just lose on the spot.
Absolutely.
The Giants version is also a bit more flexible. You can just like slam down a random Arcane Giant in the mid game. You don't have to like go with some OTK stuff. So there are benefits to both. Yeah.
So Toast is the Exodia mage. It's one that you've probably heard before in just babbling books. So Open the Waygate, Arcanologist, Doomsayer, Frostbolt, Loot Hoarder, Novice Engineer, Primordial Glyph, Sorcerer's Apprentice, Arcane Intellect, Cold Light Oracle, Frost Nova, Ice Barrier Block, Molten Reflections, of course, to get those copies, and then Kabbalist Tome, Blizzard, Archmage, and Yogg. And then the other one, like they were saying, replacing some, like just actually a lot of more of the spells, replacing those with the Giants and the Curator, and there's even Volcanic Potion in this, as well as some things that help deal with the aggro and like you said, the Galaka, or at least the Hungry Crab.
Yeah, this is actually slightly. I apologize. I put this. This list is actually slightly outdated. There's no Hungry Crab in it. There's like a Lock Crawler instead. It's very
yeah, you can
similar.
interchange those. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got Curator and Mukla and the double Coldite Oracle and stuff, but a few cards are actually different than what he's running now. So that's my bad. Sorry.
Yeah, love seeing Mukla. It's like, I don't know. I've been wondering when Mukla would ever make its way in, given that there's always that synergy, right? Anything that gets buffed by spells and you're getting those bananas, that's it's always going to be good, and it's nice to see that it got worked into this deck in some way with Antonidas, of course.
I think Mukla, I don't know. I think if you're playing Quest Mage, like Mukla in general is just a really good card. I mean, it guarantees you 2 spells to help complete the quest, and it's just a body. Like I feel like sometimes with freeze mage type decks, like you just want to drop a chunky minion sometimes when you have nothing else to do, and Mukla kind of gives you that body. So I think it should be in every Quest Mage list, honestly.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think
It makes sense. It totally does.
I mean, I think
really good.
one of the main things about like babbling books and glyphs and Kabbalah Stone and stuff is that you're always looking for. Basically, you're pretty much always looking for spells to stall the game. You're looking for like more Frost Novas, more Blizzards, more Ice Blocks. You're just looking for more turns where you can actually survive. Mukla, like obviously Mukla's like 2 cores to quest, so it can help you complete the quest a lot better, but it's the 5/5 doing that much.
I guess personal preference. I don't know. I think it's pretty strong. I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends, but I like it.
It's kind of it's like babbling book with a body, that sort of that sort of thing, right? So you're helping with the quest and just getting something out of it. It might be interesting if you could build a quest version with a little bit more tempo, just involved and included into it, instead of like a lot of these freezing elements to it. I don't know. It'd have to take a lot of experimenting with that.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of do that. You can play an elemental quest mage. Obviously, the 2 mana 2/1 Shimmering Tempest, and there's the 4 mana Steam Surger, which creates a flame geyser. Flame geyser.
Flame geyser.
Yeah, I call it geyser, but I pronounce so many things wrong.
Geyser.
So if you
big
were
geyser,
go
Old
for,
Faithful. Yeah.
If you were going to go for a tempo-based quest mage, I think that would be the way to go, like an elemental route.
Right.
But I've tried it quite a bit and haven't been able to get it to work yet.
Yeah. Well, you still have to have a finisher too when you do get, time warp. So it's like, if you don't have a big finisher, then it's kind of like, oh, what was the point of that? There was no point in me getting that extra 10 mana. Okay, well, anyways, that was one of the decks. Why don't we talk about the druid, which Oskaka brought? And I believe Oskaka was the only person to actually run this deck. So this wasn't like a popular deck that was floating around. And this was a ramp druid in the similar vein that Frozen initially had, early on in the release, where we had anacondas and that sort of bit. But it wasn't like full out anaconda. This was only had actually 1 anaconda. It had the barns, of course, too, and all the ramp elements. In the end, they got the both Deathwings and the big dragons like Ysera and obviously Primordial Drake too. But they also had Cavern, which was really surprising. So this deck had a purpose. What was it good against, Jackie?
Well, it's obviously got a ton of greed in it. So it's pretty good against other control decks. But the best, like one of the things about it is that it can really like high roll. Like you can Barnes on turn 4, or even Innovate Barnes on turn 2.
Crazy.
And if you get like Deathwing Dragonlord or like Anaconda or Ken, you can just win on the spot, like no matter what you're against. So
how is Yasharge not in this deck though? Like the Barnes Yasharge. I mean that's the classic, right? Where you can just have amazing high rolls.
Yeah. The version that I was playing a couple of days ago has Yasharge in it. So I'm a little surprised it's not in here.
Yeah, I thought
Reptil also brought Ramp Druid to Seatstory too.
Oh, did he? Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he did have Yasharge because I was casting one of his series and he went 3-0 with Big Druid.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, maybe this is outdated then.
Yeah. One thing I love about this deck so much is the Dragon Lord, though. Like, I feel like no deck ever runs Deathwing Dragon Lord, and there's finally like a deck that it's okay to actually run him in. So with the double Primordial Drake and Deathwing, like Ysera, and like I said, the version I was playing had an Alliestrasza as well. So
Dragonlord, man, Dragonlord can be so good against things like Jade Druid, or anything where you need to fill the board and end the game quickly, and then Dragonlord just dumps all your dragons and gives you that tempo for that single turn. So it's nice, yeah, definitely. Sometimes it's really, really nice, especially in a deck like this that has how many dragons? Let's see, like 5 dragons.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, and like because you've got so much greed in it, Bright-Eyed Scout also becomes amazing. Like,
he has that too.
You have a decent chance of getting something that's like 7+ mana. That's really, really like, you can get Anaconda on 5. Obviously, you could Deathwing on 5, Ysera on 5. Any of these are amazing. Like, there's so much high roll potential with this deck. I think that's the best thing about it.
Yeah, and again, like folks listening, you guys can check it out, like at least on the show notes. You can go to ChanManV.tv, and the show notes links are there. But it's got a Tar Creeper in there. I'll just list a few things. Tar Creeper's in there. Allie's Ironbeak Owl, which we'll be discussing in a second, is in there too, which is really interesting. And I like the fact that people are using Earthen Scales more instead of the Feral Rages, in terms of healing. Just more and more now. I think it's to the point where it's just Earthen Scales has been used at optimal rates now. So pretty resilient against even like mages in those type of mages that burn, given that you have so much heal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah, definitely cool.
I was gonna say, I was actually, like I said, I was playing it on ladder a couple days ago, and I was actually winning with it too. Like it's memey, but I was climbing. Like memeing and climbing feels good, man. So,
yeah, totally.
Feels good, man.
Yeah, I've been playing it too. It's I haven't played this exact version, just kind of like trying my own different things, but it's so much fun. It's just perfect for my, just my greed, and that's usually the way I like to play Hearthstone. It's just being so greedy. Okay.
He's also got the Starfall in there because of the amount of token shamans. I believe. I think that's now on ladder and in tournaments as well. Like token shaman is literally one of the most popular decks right now. So many decks are starting to like tech for it.
Yeah.
And, Starfall is actually not the worst card in the world anymore.
I played 2 of them. I tried 2 of them.
Yeah, I played 2.
Yeah.
I don't play any swipes, and I play 2 Starfalls, and I'm totally fine with it. Yeah, I don't like swipe at all right now.
Yeah, if I play swipe, I play Thalnos. I just need 2 damage. It's whenever you get Thalnos swipe, it's actually awesome, crazy awesome, because there's a lot of minions that are 5, and then you can clear a lot, especially with the shaman. But man, if it's just 4 and 1s, you do nothing. Like you kill one minion, that's it. It's really, really bad. Okay, let's see. In terms of Seatstory, of course, if those didn't know, spoiler, if you didn't watch the VODs, Mitsu ended up winning, or it's Mitsu Hyde, right? Or Mitsu,
it's Mitsu Hide.
Hide.
He's a really nice guy. He doesn't stream, so he's not as well known as some of the other players, but he's such a nice guy. So yeah, I'm really glad he won.
Yeah, let's take a look at his decks real quick. He didn't have anything that was too crazy. But let me bring it up. I can't really see it that well. Let me bring it up in my browser so I can see it a little bit better. I think the biggest things maybe to mention is that he had a Sea Giant in his Shaman, which I've had that thought many, many times, like with Doppelgangsters and those type of decks. So I would have loved to have found out why he added just 1 to it, versus 2 or none. But what do you think? Like,
the reason I think people are playing Sea Giant is because a lot of the time in the Shaman deck, you have a board full of like 0 and 1 attack minions, and so you're super reliant on Bloodlust to like close the game out. So Sea Giant obviously gives you another really high damage threat that can also help you close the game out. I'm not sure why he did that too, though. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because like having 1 in it is like one of those things where it's just like it's very precise. Like he's played a bunch of games where it's like, God, I wish I just had one more threat on the board.
It is very clunky though. Like in the games where you aren't able to get a big board really quickly, it is just going to be a dead card. And I can just imagine hands of like double Sea Giant, double Bloodlust, just like
But if you can get one down, it definitely does draw the attention of your opponent for a turn or two. And sometimes that's all you need, right, to really get that Bloodlust to draw that Bloodlust or to get that Doppelgangster evolve or whatever it is, right? Just buying time for the shaman can be a really good thing. Other than that, anything else stand out with these decks he brought? He brought shaman, mage, druid, rogue, and paladin.
No, it was pretty standard. There was a lot of jade druids, a lot of quest rogues, a lot of token shamans, a lot of paladins. But there was different types of paladin. Yeah, there was some Nazoth paladins, some control paladins, some Murloc paladins. There was paladin was probably one of the most versatile classes where there's kind of lots of different things going on.
I think paladin's just really overall really good right now.
Yeah, it's very developed. I mean, it's cool that we're seeing these little nuances. Rallying Blade being a normal thing now that we see, just against shaman. It's great.
It makes sense though. I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago, but Rallying Blade's like it's pretty good.
Yeah. I liked that Skaka was playing the Vine Cleaver version, like something that I believe Orange played at DreamHack too, when he won. I think it was Orange, or it was one of the guys at some of the recent events that was playing with Vine Cleaver, so you could, get that Blessing the Kings or get that the Spike Ridge Steed, on it, just on one of those 1/1s. And I've been doing that a bit more too with Vine Cleaver. It's been pretty fun. It's been nice.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see. Anything else at Seatstory? I mean, I guess other than that, job well done by Dennis, Take and all the guys over there. I think that what I did catch of it, which was maybe a few hours of it, it was hilarious and super entertaining. It looks like you guys had a blast as usual, Jackie.
Yeah, it was great. It's always great. But Seatstory is always because the atmosphere is so casual and everyone's just having a good time. It's not like super serious. It's a fun place to be.
It feels like a community event. That's what I love most about it. Like a lot of the players from the community, a lot of the casters are all there, so it's like a get together, which is awesome. All right, let's see. The next thing we got is a new segment that we're introducing this week, which is Jackie's Wacky Creations, which soon, guys, we'll start having some more voice bumpers and things like that. And if you're a voice actor out there and you're a fan of this show and you might be able to help us out with that, please email me, because I'm looking for a pretty cool voice actor to help us out, with making them. You can email me at chris@chanmanv.tv and we'll get to it. But Jackie's Wacky Creations. Why don't you explain to us what this is, Jackie?
So, Jackie's Wacky Creations is basically just a wacky deck I've been playing that's doing better than expected. So
that happens a lot with you.
Well, not at Seatstory, unfortunately. But yeah. So a couple of weeks ago, someone got rank 7 legend on the Asia server, I believe, with an elemental tempo rogue. His name was, bear with me here, RB8647 Poke. And he was running it's a tempo elemental rogue. And it's got like Bladed Cultists and Devious Ringleader and Cult Master and all these tempo cards. And it's much more of a minion heavy rogue instead of the kind of standard. Like generally rogues have like a lot of a lot of spells, right? So I kind of like played around with it a bit and tried to kind of put my own spin on it and make it different. And I actually ended up changing it quite a lot. I kind of dropped a lot of the aggressive stuff he was playing in it and turned it into more of a mid-range type list. And so like elementals are generally pretty strong, right? Like on curve, Blaze Caller is great, Tar Creeper is great, Tolvir Stone Shaper is great, but they're kind of one-dimensional and they're just like you're just kind of playing minions on curve. But Rogue has some really, really strong tempo cards like Backstab, Eviscerate, Edwin, SI, Vile Spine Slayer, and kind of combined with the elemental stuff. I've actually found this really good because Rogue's generally weak against aggro, but you've got the Tar Creepers and you've got the Stone Shapers as well. Right. So I've actually been doing pretty well against aggro, and it's fantastic against control. So yeah.
I like the Perdition's Blade.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, Allie.
Yeah.
I was actually a little flair to it.
I was actually really surprised. Like, I prefer Perdition's Blade over Fan of Knives in this deck anyway. If you're playing like an auctioneer list, because there's no prep in this deck, right? Like if you have prep, then you probably prefer Fadab Knife. But Perdition's Blade is great with all these. I think for the same reason that Swipe isn't very good. There's not like that many like 1 health minions.
Right.
There's only 2 health minions. And Perdition's Blade is essentially like 6 damage for 3 mana. It's like actually really good. And Shadowcaster is literally one of my favorite cards, and it's insane in this deck. You can Shadowcaster like Vile Spineslayer, get a 1 mana destroy minion.
Wow.
Shadowcaster Blaze Caller, get 1 mana deal 5. Obviously, there's other things like Huckster, Edwin.
So much
Servant
value.
of Kalamos.
Yeah.
It's basically a super value heavy list that is surprisingly good against aggro.
Yeah, there's only like 1 or 2 minions that literally have no value from it. So super high percentage, right, to land something good. What about Fire Plume Phoenix? Talk to me about that card.
I think it's pretty underrated. I think it's a solid card, and I think that like dealing 2 damage is great. And the fact that a lot of the time what you're doing is you're playing Tolvo Stone Shaper on 4, and then you don't have an activator for Servant of Kalamos on 5. So it kind of gives you the option of having a 4-drop that does give you an activator for the turn after.
Okay.
And I don't think it's a bad card. I don't think it's insane, but it's decent.
A role.
I think
Feels
it
a role
feels
in
like
the
your curve. Yeah.
All right. I like it. I think I'm gonna have to try it out.
I like it too.
Really give it a whirl, and I don't know. Maybe we're trying to figure out, what deck of the week is going to be this week, and so Jackie's deck seemed to be always a candidate, given that we did the tempo freeze last time. And for those of you who are wondering what I'm talking about, we do deck of the week every single week with patrons, and not only just with patrons, it's open to everybody. It's just our way of suggesting a deck. And then what we do is we have a mini show on Mondays where we have patrons join us. And this week we had me and Allie doing it with them. And they just share their experience. We play it too, so we share our experiences and we talk about win percentages and cool plays and just fun things, every Monday at 9 p.m. So if you guys want to participate in that, or just even just play the decks with us, just hang out with us and play the decks with us. Obviously, you want to be a patron too. That'd be amazing. You can actually join us on the show. Definitely check that out. We'll be posting the deck of the week a little bit later today on the patron site. But I figured I'd mention that. But this was a good candidate. I think we might want to see if we want to do this deck. Very, very cool.
Yeah, I kind of hope that after the Quest Rogue nerf, people will experiment more with different rogue builds, because I think Quest Rogue has kind of stopped people from playing other rogue decks that much. Like Quest Rogue has been so dominant against control that there's no need to try anything else. Maybe like Tempo Elemental Rogue, Jade Rogue, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And
maybe people could start trying out. Because Rogue is like one of the best classes for tempo. Like you've got Backstab and Prep, Prep is like the best tempo card in the game. It's insane.
Yeah. Vile Spawn Slayer's disgusting too.
So good. So good.
All right.
Rogue is scary.
Good stuff, man. This is a great deck. And again, Jackie's Wacky Creations is going to be recurring, and we're just going to have come up like from week to week. So very, very cool there. Before we move on, do want to give a shout out to some folks that, just obviously supporters of the show. Value Town supported by the patrons, 100% by the patrons, especially, this week we're not sponsored by anybody. So it's all you guys. And, we're really grateful to you guys because you make the show happen. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do the show each week. So we want to spend some time each week and give thanks to some of the folks. Obviously, our legend producer, Mike T, as always. Definitely a big shout out to him, as well as some other patrons, Nathan J, Havoc, William C, Bruce W, Jonathan V, Michael O, Marashi, ZM, Enoch K, and Austin L. Thanks so much, guys, for doing that. And if you're interested in helping support the show, go to patreon.com/ValueTown. And, just check out just all the rewards and milestones and, shoot us a pledge. $1, a quarter, whatever, guys. It makes a big difference to us if everybody that was a fan of the show, could contribute that much. It would help us in a big way. Again, do some more voiceover bumpers and things like that. Also, we are available on iTunes. A lot of folks don't know that you can listen to us on the way to work or while you're working out on your iPads or iPhones. And so we're available on iTunes as well as Google Play and SoundCloud. Want to give a shout out to Lagging 24/7 for leaving a 5-star review for us. Helps us out a great deal, guys, doing that, leaving us ratings, because it helps us with ranking, SEO, and people are trying to find Hearthstone. So if you got a few minutes, go and do that. But you know, obviously, guys like lagging, we definitely want to make sure they know that we appreciate that. All right, so let's move on to another